Hear, O Israel, our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being and with all your might. And these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Been a long week, but I'm here. How you doing, Gibson girl, Maria, Peggy? We saw you come in on the Zoom at noon last Shabbat, and then we lost you. So I was kind of saddened not to get to meet you, but hopefully you'll come back on tomorrow and try it again, Peggy. Hi, Ted. All right. So last few weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe, we've been talking about mainly about the reign of Yahuwah and his bride, which hopefully is us. And I think this Shabbat we're going to shift gears, put it in reverse, and go back into some scriptural prophecy. Because I have been noticing through, hi James, glad you're here, that things are starting to resemble Revelations 13 quite a bit lately. And I think we're seeing Revelations 13 kind of manifest itself right before our eyes. And lately, within the last week or two, hi, Margaret, glad you're here. The last month or two, there's been an awful lot of remarkable news that just kind of collaborates with scriptural prophecy, and especially Revelations 13. So I would like to kind of go over some scriptural prophecy, not so much Revelations 13, but in Daniel. And I think Daniel is kind of subtly sneaking up on us, and things are being fulfilled rapidly from prophecies in Daniel. And it's happening right in front of our eyes. It's on the news almost every evening and throughout this entire year, really. And I think most of us are just just passing right by us, and we're not even realizing what's going on. Kind of like the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire, right? Kind of came and went, and nobody really noticed it. But it's definitely here, and which is scriptural prophecy in itself. And so all this stuff with COVID and people not working, shortage of supplies, the development of restrictions, taking away some of our rights and freedoms that most of us take for granted and aren't really noticing what they're doing. And this big term that we've all probably heard by now called the Great Reset. I've heard it come out of most of our politicians' mouths, and even world leaders have been screaming it from the rooftops. They're no longer hiding this stuff, folks. They're coming right out with it and saying it, but most people aren't even listening. It's like scriptures. They have ears, but they can't hear. And you have eyes, but you can't see what's going on around you right in front of your face, right? So this is what I kind of want to cover this evening and try to wake all of us up to really, I think, how deep we actually are into the latter days. Now, most scriptural students, if you will, and even a lot of Christians will believe that there's a final 7-year period that leads up to the return of the Mashiach. And most people divide that as the first 3.5 of the final 7 are years of peace and safety. And the last 3, and then right in the middle, the anti-Mashiach comes on the stage and is revealed. And then the last 3.5 of those final 7 are the tribulation years, Jacob's trouble, if you will, tribulation years, which are the wrath of Hashatan, as he gets thrown out of the Shemayim and comes down upon the Eretz with great wrath. And he hates the bride. He hates Yezre'el. Yezre'el is the bride. It's just another name for Yezreel's bride, the elect, the chosen ones, the great city, all kinds of different terminology for Yezre'el, but the most common would be the bride. And that's who the devil hates the most. So when he comes down, he's going to be hunting hunting the bride and beheading them as quick as he can and as many as he can before the days are shortened. Of his wrath will be shortened by Yahusha. He will shorten the days of the wrath of Hashatan for the sake of his bride, his elect, Yesharel. All the same thing, just different ways of saying it. And so then after the days have been shortened, which they already have in Yahuwah's timeline and his reality, he's already took it all into account and figured it all out, right? How many days he would shorten before the day of Yahuwah comes, right? And so anyway, what we want to focus on this evening mostly is the prophecies in Daniel, because I think they're unfolding right now as we speak, and they have been for the last year or two, really, but they're really accelerating now. They're expanding globally, and they are being fulfilled rapidly. And I'll tell you something. We like to focus on Revelations a lot. You know, Revelations 13, Revelation 17, right? And we kind of neglect or not pay much attention to Daniel. But perhaps the most important or most revealing prophecy of all is found in Daniel 2. Really, Daniel 7 as well, but Daniel 2 really tells the story, what's going on, gives us a great timeline of world events leading up to the end, return of Yahushua. And it's all in there, every bit of it, all the way through, really. And so he does this in Daniel. This is revealed to us through different stages of governmental control, which we could call the beast, if you wish. And it goes down through, starting with Babylon, and then down through the Greeks and the Persians and the Romans, all these big main empires of men, right? Governments and kingdoms of men, down into even to the legs of iron, divided kingdom, right? The legs are divided. Actually, they're all divided except for the head, and we'll get into that. And then we get down into the feet of iron and clay mingled together, which is the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. And it can also mean something else. And this is what we're going to focus tonight's study on, that something else. And don't forget the 10 toes. They're the exact same. Those 10 toes are the exact same 10 kingdoms that we read about in Revelations, where there's 10 kingdoms, right? Or 10 horns, and 3 are uprooted by one horn, one little horn, right? This is the same representation of the 10 toes. 10 toes, 10 horns. It's also found in Daniel 7 and Revelations 17, I think. But same thing, just being said in a different way. So this is confirmation that the beast with the 10 horns, 7 heads, 10 horns, I can't remember now what it is, but there's 10 horns. The whore of Babylon, the mystery of Babylon, if you will, rides on the back of the 10-horned beast, right? There's all the same thing as the 10 toes mingled with iron and clay, as far as that goes. All right, but what we want to focus on is the parallel meaning of the kingdom that's mingled with iron and clay. All right, so let's do our Torah portion this evening, and we'll do a Torah reading, and then we're going to elaborate a whole lot on this this strange kingdom, final kingdom, if you will, of man that's mingled with iron and clay. All right, Kobe, glad to see you, brother. Hadassah, glad to see you. Phyllis White, glad to see you. Lou White, glad. I hope you're on here too. If you are, glad to see you. Welcome. All right, guys. Juanita Phillips, glad you're here, Mom. This is going to be a pretty good one. Stick around. All right, guys. All right. So let's read our Torah portion, get that out of the way, and then we'll start elaborating and expanding on this. Okay, fellas, good. That is given to us in this prophecy we're fixing to read. So here we go. It's BYNV time. Daniel, chapter 2. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his ruach was so troubled that his sleep left him. And the sovereign gave orders to call the magicians and the astrologers and the practicers of witchcraft and the Chaldeans to declare to the sovereign his dreams. So he's calling on man, wicked men actually, right, to try to tell him what this dream, interpret his dream. So they came and stood before the sovereign, and the sovereign said to them, I have had a dream, and my ruach is troubled to know the dream. And the Chaldeans spoke to the sovereign in Aramaic, O sovereign, live forever. Relate the dream to your servants, and we shall reveal the interpretation. The sovereign answered and said to the Chaldeans, my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream and its interpretation to me, your limbs shall be taken from you, and your house made dunghills. They're going to cut off their arms and legs, make their houses into dunghills if they can't interpret his dream. So he sounds like he's a pretty cruel ruler here right off the get-go, right? But if you reveal the dream and its interpretation, you shall receive gifts and rewards and great esteem from me. So reveal to me the dream and its interpretation. Oh, hi. Yeah. Oh, Caroline. Glad you're on, sister. Been missing you. Been watching for you. They answered again and said, let the sovereign relate to his servants the dream, and we shall reveal its interpretation. The sovereign answered and said, I know for certain that you would gain time, because you see that my decision is firm. If you do not make known the dream to me, there is only one decree for you. For you have agreed to speak lying and corrupt words before me till the time has changed. So relate the dream to me, then I shall know that you shall reveal its interpretation for me. So now not only does he wants them to interpret the dream, he wants them to tell them what he dreamed. So that's wild there, isn't it? I don't know if anybody's ever been able to do that. The Chaldeans answered the sovereign and said, there is no one on earth who is able to reveal the matter of the sovereign, because no sovereign master or ruler has ever asked a matter like this of any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And the matter that the sovereign is asking is difficult, and there is no other who is able to reveal it to the sovereign except the Elohim, those whose dwelling is not with flesh. So here they knew of Elohim, right? And so they knew of him, but perhaps denied his power, right? Didn't reference him. Or maybe they gave reference to him, but denied his power. But anyway, they knew of him. Because of this, the sovereign was enraged and very angry. and gave orders to destroy all the wise ones of Babel. So the wise ones that came at, they're supposed to have been searching out the Mashiach at his birth, following the star, right? Were the wise ones of Babel. So they were magicians and people, engaged in witchcraft and black magic, sorcery, pharmakia, mixing poisons, things like that. All right. So the decree went out and they began killing the wise ones. So they started killing them off. And they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then with counsel and wisdom, Daniel answered Arioch, the chief of the sovereign's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise ones of Babel. He answered and said to Arioch, the sovereign's officer, "Why is the decree from the sovereign so urgent?" So Arioch made the decision known to Daniel. And Daniel went in and asked the sovereign to give him time, and he would show the sovereign the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the decision known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, to seek compassion from the Allah of the Shamayim concerning this secret, so that Daniel and his companions should not perish with the rest of the wise ones of Babel. Wise ones of Babel, magicians, astrologers, witches, sorcerers. Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision, and Daniel blessed the Allah of the Shamayim. Daniel responded and said, "Blessed be the name of Allah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes sovereigns and raises up sovereigns. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who possess understanding. He reveals deep and secret things." Yes, he does. "He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, Allah of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you. For you have made known to us the sovereign's matter." So Daniel went to Arioch, whom the sovereign had appointed to destroy the wise ones of Babel. He went and said this to him, "Do not destroy the wise ones of Babel. Bring me in before the sovereign, and I shall show the interpretation to the sovereign." So here we find out that Daniel saved the lives of these wise ones of Babel, these magicians and sorcerers and so forth and so on. So he's responsible for saving their life and getting all their limbs cut off. Their house is turned into dung, to a dunghill. Then Arioch brought Daniel in a hurry before the sovereign and said thus to him, "I have found a man among the sons of the exile of Yehuda, who does make known to the sovereign the interpretation." The sovereign answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation?" Daniel answered before the sovereign and said, "The secret which the sovereign is asking, the wise ones, the astrologers, the magicians, and the diviners," now they're even worshiping the dead, right? Calling on dead, talking to dead people, "and unable to show it to the sovereign. But there is an Allah in the Shamayim who reveals secrets, and he has made known to sovereign Nebuchadnezzar what is to be in the latter Yamam." So here we find out right now what's going on. This dream is all about the latter days, the end times, the tribulation years, the wrath of Shaitan. Okay. So that's what his dream's all about. Your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, sovereign, on your bed your thoughts came up. What is going to take place after this? And he who reveals secrets has made known to you what shall be. As for me, the secret has not been shown to me because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who make known the interpretation to the sovereign, and that you should know the thoughts of your heart. So he's saying, I'm not going to do this because it's not all about me. I don't want no credit. You call me a wise one. I'm just doing this for the sake of you want to kill everybody over this thing, right? You, sovereign, were looking on and saw a great image. The great image and its shining excellence was standing before you, and its form was awesome. This image's head was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partially of iron and partially of clay. So the 10 toes on these feet that are partially iron and partially clay are the same exact 10 kingdoms that the woman dressed in purple and scarlet is riding on with the 10 horns. Same thing, same kingdoms, exactly. You were looking on until a stone was cut out without hands, and it smote the image of its feet of iron and clay and broke them in pieces. So here, the stone was what? The cornerstone that they rejected, right? The chief cornerstone that they rejected. So this is Yahusha, right? Yeah, it is. And this is implying that Yahusha is going to smote the image of its feet of iron and clay and break them to pieces. He's going to destroy the last kingdom of men's reign when he comes back, and all the other kingdoms will be gone with it. So men's governments, men's kingdoms, men's religions, men's traditions, men's superstitions, all that is going to be taken away. All right. And the only thing that's going to be left is the reign of Yahuwah and his government, which will be without end. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed. See, all taken away together and became like chaff from the summer threshing floors. And the wind took them away so that no trace of them was found. See, so they're gone. No trace of them to even be found. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled all the Arats. So this stone that smote it became a great mountain and filled all the Arats. That means he took dominion of the entire field, of the entire world, of all the nations that he purchased with his own blood. He took possession of his property. Did he not? Yeah, that's what he says he did. Right there. So, let's continue. We're almost done here with this. Then is the dream. This is the dream and its interpretation we declare before the sovereign. You, sovereign, are the sovereign of sovereigns. For the Allah of the Shamayim has given you a reign, power, and strength, and preciousness. And wherever the children of men dwell, and wherever the children of men dwell, or the beast of the field, and the birds of the Shamayim, he has given them into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. All right. So he's telling Nebuchadnezzar here that the Babylonian Empire basically is the greatest of them all, right? Okay. Spiritually, what's being revealed to us here, okay, is Nebuchadnezzar is an image of Hashatan, the devil, all right? And he's the head of Babylon. And so in the end times, the devil's going to rule. He's going to give dominion over all men's governments and religions and stuff. It's what the beast is described in Revelations. It's a system of control, government that controls people. And I think we're going to find out even to an extent that we don't realize as we continue to study. But if you notice how peculiar it sounds, wherever the children of men dwell, or the beast of the field and the birds of the Shemayim, he has given them into your hand. Why would he tell him that? Because it's not being described as him. It's Satan he's describing Satan spiritually in the latter days. Remember, he says he's talking about, it's all about the latter days. Okay, what is to be in the latter Yamam is what the true meaning of this dream was. So this is talk about Hashatan, the beast, in the end times, the latter days. So it's almost like a parable, but it's not. Where it's saying one thing, the dream is showing us one thing, but it really means something else. It's kind of like that. Okay. So that's the goal. That's that one big kingdom. And in the end, all right, the anti-Mashiach, Hashatan, is going to rule one big kingdom, right? It's going to be huge like this one that's being described. Everything. He's going to have dominion over everything, the whole world, right? Because it's going to be a one world system, one world government, one world religion, one world bank, one world everything, okay? And it's all going to be controlled by the beast, the anti-Mashiach. See, there's different beasts. The beast that is the government and the religion, the system of Hashatan is one beast. And then Yahuchanan likes to call the anti-Mashiach a beast as well. And then there's a second beast, which Yahuchanan calls a beast, a second person. And then he reveals that to be the false prophet, right? So those are the three beasts found in Revelations 13. So, and after you rises up another reign, lower than yours, and another third reign of bronze that rules over all the Arets, and the fourth reign is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. So like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all these. Okay. Very interesting here if we slow down a little bit, and read this. Verse 40. It kind of reveals to us that each preceding kingdom will be weaker than the previous one, in a way. Right? Or less, because of the less value that's in the metals that's depicting that kingdom. Gold, silver, bronze, iron, right? So that goes from the most valuable, the strongest or biggest, most important, down, steps down, right? And then all of a sudden it hits iron, which is less valuable than all of them, but it's able to crush all of them. So although it's less valuable, it's stronger. Yeah? Gets weird, don't it? But the iron is less valuable than the three previous kingdoms. So less greater, maybe. So let's just keep reading so we can find that out. Yet as you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the reign is to be divided. Okay, this is not the first reign that was divided. The second reign, the silver reign, was divided between the Greeks and the Persians. The next one was also divided, and then the fourth one, which is the Greek Empire. I mean, was divided quadruple, 4 times. It tells us in Scripture. So the only single kingdom is that gold, and at the end, the only single kingdom is going to be the reign of the anti-Mashiach. So anyway, the rain is to be divided, but some of the strength of the iron is to be in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay. So here it's saying that this last kingdom, which on your feet, on the feet and toes, which is telling us that the 10 horns kingdom, the final kingdom of the anti-Mashiach, right, where he comes up out of this 10-horn kingdom, upwards 3, the little horn comes out with big mouth, and flattering everybody, and then ending up blaspheming the one true living Yahuwah, right, and claiming to be him, even, usurping him. And so these feet, the partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, is suggesting a 2-person, if you will, or 2-king, 2-ruler kingdom, right? Which is what the Holy Roman Empire was. I think it was Pope Charles, if I'm not mistaken, was the first one to crown the Caesar for the Roman Empire, and declared him to be Caesar's. And without the blessing of the Pope, from then on, that was the birth of the Holy Roman Empire. They couldn't take rule as the Caesar or the king of the empire. They had to have the blessing of the religious leader, right? Charlemagne, I think was his name, the first emperor that was crowned by the Pope Charles, I believe. And this went on and on and on until the Holy Roman Empire fell apart for several reasons, right? And then it just hopped along, divided, really, as a divided kingdom, until the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire happened in the 90s. I think it was 94, but I can't remember if it was 2004 or 94. I don't recall. But anyway, it was reborn, and it's right now in existence right now. Okay. So because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay, means the rebirth is there's the religious leader and a political leader is together controlling this future one world government. Okay, and it's coming, and we're going to get into that here a little bit. Okay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the rain is partly strong and partly brittle. There was some news a couple of days back about the deficit that the Catholic Church is in right now. I mean, a lot of money. They're down in the red. All right, they're in the red big time. And so the rain is partly strong, which would mean the part that has teeth. They have some kind of power, military might, something that they can cause pain, such as in, stopping people from getting supplies, like what's going on right now. They say there's 109 freight liners sitting off the coast of the United States holding all these supplies back and they won't dock because of COVID or because there's no workers on the docks to unload them. Coming up with all kinds of excuses. But if we stop and think about what common sense says about all that, perhaps they're cutting off our supply chains, trying to weaken us and getting ready to invade us. That's a possibility. You can't listen, you can't trust what the beast says. But anyway, and as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they are mixing themselves with the seed of man. Huh? Now, isn't that a strange statement? And as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, but we don't know what was they? Are mixing themselves with the seed of man. The seed of men is sons and daughters, right? Humans. But they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. So, very interesting passage here. And I would just like to this is what we're going to go over big time here in a minute, since we get done with our Torah portion reading. But basically, it's, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here, but this is a possibility that the other meaning or the parallel meaning that goes along with this passage is suggesting to us that the New World Order or the Great Reset, okay, is being implemented by these leaders in this final day government, if you will, of control. And they are going to try, in which they are already doing, to mingle humans with AI in forms of robots. AI technology is in computer chips. And in order to create a cyborg that's kind of cold inside, no love. Remove your soul. They actually want to remove your soul and give you a different soul that's artificial. By implanting micro chips and nanotechnology into humans, they're hoping to be able to control your thoughts and even be able to watch what and know what you're thinking, monitor your thoughts before you commit a crime. If you start to think that you want to steal something, it sends a signal back to the quantum computer, and all of a sudden they send cops out, perhaps cyborgs, and they grab a hold of you and take you to jail and said you were thinking about, take you to judge. He was thinking about committing this crime, and we stopped him before he did it. So he's just as guilty as if we wouldn't have stopped him, and he did it. And so you're going to go to jail for your thoughts. You're going to try to control your thoughts. And you know what's really wild about this, before I forget about it? I was reading that in Revelations, and I was considering it, and that possibly when the anti-Mashiach goes up on the set-apart mountain, and he proclaims to be Yahuwah, right? And it says that he creates this, he makes this image of himself speak. I think speak and kill, right? Could this be a cyborg or a robot that looks like a man? You know, Japan is extremely advanced on making robots that look like human women over there. You can research that yourself. I mean, it's just crazy what they're doing in Japan. Just Google Japan and robots or lack of, their race is going to disappear. Japanese race is going to disappear in 20 years. It'll bring up all kinds of articles about it. I mean, these robots look like real women, man. They really do. So could the anti-Mashiach, when he says his image, they bow down, make people bow down to his image and worship his image, that he makes both speak and kill, destroy, I think. Could that be a robot? An image, artificial robot, an AI, or perhaps a cyborg, part human and part machine that speaks up there and people bow down to it? It's because it's made in the image of the anti, clone, looks like exactly like him. It's cloned and appears exactly like he appears. I mean, that's crazy stuff, but it starts to make a lot of sense, especially when we start getting a little bit deeper in this here in a minute. You'll see why I'm saying this stuff. This is all happening right now. I mean, people can think, that's just some crackpot theologian, man, freaking out over Revelations again, or something like that. But this has nothing to do with theologians, Christians, Nazarene, nobody. The people that are now hollering this or shouting this stuff from the rooftops, they're not hiding it, okay? Are world leaders. Matter of fact, the main dude that's saying all this about AI and cyborgs and robots and microchip implants and nanotechnology and quantum computers taking over everybody, it's all what the Great Reset is about. When you hear them say Great Reset, that's what it's all about. Taking over your mind and controlling people to do what they want the people to do. Full control of the human race. They even say free will. This free will thing is out. Remember Nancy Pelosi saying that your privacy rights are out. There's no such thing as privacy rights anymore. When Facebook and cell phones and everything came around, now they're saying free will is out. The main guy behind all this, which he calls transhumanism, this is the term they're using, folks, is Klaus Schwab. And he's not some goofball theologian running around screaming Messiah's coming tomorrow, or, the Satan's after us, or anti-Mashiach's going to get us. This guy don't even believe in any of that. This guy is the president of the World Economical Forum. The president is the guy that's saying all this. Nobody's calling him a crackpot or a nut job or a wacko. If one of us would go out and tell somebody that, you're crazy, man. Ain't no way that can happen. Yeah, maybe 30 years ago, but now it absolutely can happen because it is happening right in front of our eyeballs. So let's continue. And in the days of these sovereigns, the Allah of the Shamayim shall set up a reign which shall never be destroyed, nor the reign pass on to other people. It crushes and puts an end to all these reigns, and it shall stand forever. And that's speaking of the reign of Yahuwah now, right? Obviously, because you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great Allah has made known to the sovereign what shall be after this. And the dream is true, and its interpretation is worthy. So the 10 toes is the same exact kingdoms as the 10 horns, and the reign of Yahuwah is the kingdom that never ends, and Yahusha is the one that destroys all the other kingdoms. He's the rock that comes down and hits the feet mingled with iron and clay, topples the giant, and destroys the beast, men's kingdoms and reign. Okay? This is what Daniel's telling the sovereign here. I don't know if he's catching it, but it's what Daniel's saying. I mean, we can see it easily now, right? But maybe the king Nebuchadnezzar couldn't. Who knows? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. Then sovereign Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and did obedience before Daniel and gave orders to present to him an offering and incense. So he's outside worshiping Daniel now. It's crazy, man. The sovereign answered Daniel and said, truly, your Allah is the Allah of Alam, and the master of sovereigns, and a revealer of secrets. So since you were able to reveal this secret, so apparently King Nebuchadnezzar did catch it and did understand the interpretation. Then the sovereign made Daniel great and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over all the province of Babel, and chief of the nobles over all the wise ones of Babel. And Daniel asked of the sovereign, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the work of the province of Babel, and Daniel in the gate of the sovereign. So there you go. Huge timeline here. So all these kingdoms, Babylon, the Greeks, the Persians, the Roman Empire, then the Holy Roman Empire, now the rebirth Holy Roman Empire is the only one that's left right now, right? The rest are really, I mean, they're there. There's a remnant of them. There's proof that they existed, but they don't really have any power like they did, you know. But all of these have went down. This from gold to silver to bronze to iron to clay and mixed with iron is showing us that men's reign, okay, men's power, men's reign is slowly declining. Down to nothing until Yahushua comes back and just destroys it. It's all gone. It never did exist. So the men's kingdoms are slowly dissipating into nothingness. This is what the precious metals are showing us as they decline in value. Interestingly, the last kingdom, although it's brittle, it's partly strong and partly brittle, is actually going to be the strongest of them all. And the way we know that is when he's interpreted the head of gold representing the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, spiritually it is revealed to us that this is going to be, you can compare this reign, the most powerful reign, Babylon, to the anti-Mashiach's reign. That's what it's telling us. Let it ring, glad you're here. All right. So that's powerful, because all these kingdoms have come and gone, right? And now we're at the very last one. We're in the kingdom of the feet, in the 10 toes. It's right there on the feet. Alufa Miyalo, glad you're here, sister. See that? So the feet, the last kingdom before the return of Yahusha, the iron mingled with clay, is the only one left. The rest of them have come and gone. So we have to be right at the end of the allocated time for men's reign, for it ends, for Yahushua destroys it. And look what's at the end of the feet. So we come down into the ankle with iron. Once it hits the ankle, it spreads out into starts mingling with clay, iron with clay, which I believe is telling us that in this kingdom, humanity is going to mingle himself with artificial intelligence. That's a sign that we're in that kingdom. And then look what happens. It goes down through that foot, relatively short foot compared to the rest of the body parts. It's relatively short and flat. Okay, so it's not going to have a long life, is it? Nah. The two legs of iron had a long life, didn't it? Yes. It goes down through the foot and hits those toes. Guess what? That's tribulation years right there. So we're somewhere between the ankle and the toes, where the toes began off the foot. We're somewhere in there in our timeline. Once it hits the toes, there's tribulation years. When those are over, here comes the rock and smashes it all to pieces. All of them goes with it. It hits the last kingdom that's on the earth because that's the only one that exists. So the rock comes down and smashes the kingdom made with iron and clay to pieces, but topples the whole statue and destroys all the other kingdoms along with it. See it? And the 10 toes mingled with iron and clay are exactly the exact same kingdoms as the 10 horns in Revelations. And in Daniel 7, I think it says it in there too. Okay, so that's why and so I started thinking about this. I just started getting on the internet and messing around, and I came across some really wild. So I'm going to share a screen here with you on 2 short videos here in a second. Stick around. This is powerful stuff now. I mean, powerful stuff. And we're seeing this unfold right in front of our eyes. And we need to recognize it, Nazarene. Know what's going on. Because people like to blow it off, but we can't be blowing this off any longer, not much longer for sure. It's coming. It's just right around the corner. Actually, it's going downhill a little bit from your ankle to your toes. That's where we're at on timeline. It's nearing the end. By the way, that statue of Nebuchadnezzar's dream was 60 feet tall. 60 feet tall, which is prophetic, and Yahuwah's prophetic explanations. 660 or 600 and 6,000 all mean the same thing. Okay, so what is that saying to us? 60 foot tall, 6,000 years. That's all man's got, and his kingdoms will be destroyed. And then comes the rock that will be everlasting kingdom. Okay, so that's kind of ironic too, that was 60 feet tall, which means 6,000 years allocated to mankind to rule over Yahuwah's creation, basically. And that's going to be handed over. Just before that, the days are going to be shortened by Yahushua for the sake of the elect. Because if he didn't shorten the days, right, no one would be delivered. That's what it says. So he shortened the days. We don't know how many. I think there's a clue in scriptures that tells us. I'm not going to get into it. But he's going to shorten the days for the sake of the elect so that they can be delivered before the day of Yahuwah comes. Because pretty much when 6,000 years hits, exactly, game over. Day of Yahuwah comes, burns everything up. And so if he didn't shorten the days, we'd all get burned up too. No one would be delivered. For the sake of the elect, and I believe the efforts of our work in the harvest is what we're doing that influenced him to shorten those days. Okay? We can be delivered. That's all calculated in there somewhere. But interestingly, that statue was 60 feet tall, which means 6,000 years. And it's game over, folks. We're very close. Very close. Very close. I'm telling you. Okay, so as I was researching all this, I was like totally blown away, really, man. The things that's going on in the world right now, I didn't even realize. I'm sure some of you may know about them, have heard about them. I've heard the Great Reset, but I didn't really know what it was, what it meant. I didn't really even care at the time. But as I started researching this, I started feeding me. I said, feed me more. I need to know more. And I just got blown away. As a matter of fact, I got so blown away, I just quit looking for it because it's just nuts. It's crazy. It's sickening, really, what's going on right now. So this Klaus Schwab seems to be one of the big players in all this. You can research him. He's got books and videos galore about all this out there. And like I say, he likes to talk about transhumanism, which means transforming humans into something else, right? Yes, it does. And so he wants to transform us humans into a machine of sorts, a cyborg in which the governments can control even our thoughts and know what we're thinking or what we're planning on doing before we even do it, and then prosecuting us for our thoughts. Yeah. So he says, I was watching a video on him. He was the guest speaker at the John F. Kennedy School of Government. It's like a branch of Harvard University. And as I started researching this university, I found out that this School of Governments, is preparing young global leaders to take over the world under the influence or direction of socialism or communism, even. And I was totally blown away to find out that not only are there people, well-known people, authors, scientists, doctors, well-known people that are alumni of this School of Governments, if you will, but 17, that's 17 world leaders are graduates of the John F. Kennedy School of Governments right now on this earth. And they're all young. They're young leaders. It's just mind-blowing. And guess what government they're ruling under? Most of them, totalitarianism. Yeah. So he says in the audience, he says, what we're doing is we're changing minds, the way that people think. And he says the whole idea is to get rid of the national terms of thinking nationally and interject global term, the globalites or the elites of the ruling class, globalites, right? And they focus all their doctrine or their teaching on their students that making money is bad and serving society is good. And they've even gone as far as creating their motto that says, you will own nothing and be happy. That's their motto. And this ain't no joke. There's 17 graduates from this school ruling over nations right now in this world. 17 of them. That's the most from any school in the world, in case you're wondering. That's the most world leaders out of any school on this planet. They have 17 ruling class students. Yeah, presidents, premiers, whatever they are. So these young global leaders that they're developing right here in front of our eyeballs and putting into power, okay, are doing a pretty good job, because the whole world really is turning communist, socialist. It's just it's even capitalism has taken on a whole new face. Really, it's not the same capitalism I grew up with, or you all may know. But just some of the members here, just give you an idea how powerful this is. Okay. Some of these people are going along with this globalization or one world government are Chelsea Clinton and her parents, of course, Tony Blair, Gavin Newsom, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Angela Merkel, Vladimir Putin, Emmanuel Macron, Alberta Fernandez, and Justin Trudeau. Who's he? Prime Minister or Premier of Canada, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who he is. They're all in. They're all in. But that's not all the world leaders. There's 17 young world leaders right now ruling over nations that graduated from this academy, this university, a spinoff of Harvard, if you will. So their global agenda, which Scripture calls a one world government and one world religion. This Scripture is what Scripture points to in the end time. It's just it's going to be ruled under a united front of a religion, religious leader, and a governmental political leader and a religious leader, right? They're going to rule this system, this last kingdom, right? Because it's the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah. The Caesar and the Pope is who ruled the Holy Roman Empire, and the Pope couldn't take his throne until he was blessed by the Caesar couldn't take his throne until he was blessed by the Pope. That's what the Holy Roman Empire was all about. Unity, right? The beast. So anyway, this is all hidden, they're trying to develop a one world government and a one world religion, which is prophesied in the Scriptures. And it's starting to look a whole lot like Revelations 13 coming to life, folks, right in front of our eyeballs, really. It really is. The beast, all right, that the world leader rides on, that 10-horned beast, is a 10-nation kingdom, all right? And it's going to be, that's the Holy Roman Empire. It's going to be united with the religious leader, which no doubt is going to be the Pope, okay? But that's not the only alliance. They're going to be united with probably the United Nations or the European Union or something. So they're going to be united with this other large body of control, because it's going to be a one world government. But this beast, and the one riding on the beast, that's represented by this 10 horn kingdom, three are uprooted and the little horn takes over, right, is going to be the ones that are telling everybody what to do. They're going to be the ultimate leader of the coalition or the alliance, the world alliance, because the whole world's going to come against the Yisrael. So they're going to unite, right? The only one that may not be involved in that, besides some of the smaller countries, is the United States, and that's yet to be seen, I guess. So here's a thought for you all. Is it possible, okay, that the anti-Mashiach is going to come from this school of government onto the world scene? And what's really weird about it is this Klaus Schwab, who is a huge supporter of this school, along with some other big money people like Bill Gates and some others. They are injecting in these rulers, okay, to take total control, right, and pay alliance to the ultimate controller, right, by mixing technology in with the laity and controlling them. Take away the free wills of the past. That's gone. There's no such thing as free will anymore. We're going to control your thoughts with these microchips. And if you don't do what we say, we're going to send them nanobodies into certain parts of your body and cause you great pain until you submit to our will. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're doing it right now. So, anyways, this tech type infusion, if you will, or new revelation, is going to be implemented by putting microchips in your brain. They've already have them. They have them. It's not science fiction. It's not, they maybe in 100 years, but they can't do it now. They have them right now. All they got to do is put them in you. Nanotechnology, perhaps introduced into your system through the jab? Could be something to that nanotechnology and 5G stuff in that jab. This could be how they're going to do it too. Until they get so many people into submission, it doesn't matter. They'll be lining up to get their chip, right? Put in their brain. And believe it or not, the new revelation in science, it's not outer space. It's brain research. Brain research. And at the height of that brain research is their desire to implant a microchip in your brain. And this is all going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised for somebody to tell me, Mark, there's people running around with microchips in them right now. They've already been putting them in people. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. I know they're doing other weird stuff with chips, scanner. They have to put a chip in there to get into their high level job. So they put a microchip in there and they scan them as they walk through the door to go to work. I know that's been going on for about 10 years now, for sure. Folks, another term for this, it's all the same thing. Agenda 21, all those crazy things they attach to this. But one of the newer ones, besides the Great Reset, is the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, and we're the things. They want to put a chip in your brain so that you can control or go on the internet in your mind. In your mind. Navigate through the internet. Yeah, it's called the Internet of Things, and we're the things. And of course, this is all going to be run through 5G technology. They really haven't implemented 5G. They're putting it out there. They're labeling stuff with 5G and everything, but it's really not true 5G yet, folks. They're just prepping your minds to accept 5G because people are so freaked out about it. Yeah, let's just put it out there and pretend like we already have it. And then they'll get used to hearing 5G, 5G, 5G. And then when we do come out with it, they won't care. So they're kind of brainwashing you with 5G so that you'll accept it when it does get implemented. But Internet of Things going to come through the 5G technology. And all this is for thought control. Retrieve your memories directly from your brain, turn you into cyborgs by activating implantable microchips in your brain. Yeah, that's what they're doing. A website that's really that I found fascinating as I was researching some of this jazz was bitshoot.com. I don't know if anybody's ever been on that, but it's pretty loaded with this kind of stuff. It's called B-I-T, and then shoot, CHUTE.com. And there's an amazing amount of people on there revealing all this stuff, And that Klaus Schwab, the president of the WEF, man, that dude is something else. And you're going to see him a little bit here because I'm going to do some share screening on some of this. But before I do, I'm going to share just a little bit of world review that's going on right now that kind of adds to this as revealing to us that we are, in fact, getting very close to the latter times. We may even be in the final 7 because it says, scripture tells us that when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, right? Well, Brother Ron, so some of you may know Brother Ron, real nice man. He had shared with me one day a share screen as we were talking on the internet. And he I'm going to show you something. And he put up a picture of a statue in New York. I think it's right outside of the United Nations building, if I ain't mistaken, but I know it's in New York. And this statue, which is new, is of a lion, a lion with eagle wings. Okay. And we all know that that's depicting one of the beasts, right? In Daniel. And on the statue, it says something or other, and then it says for peace, or as a reminder, for peace and safety. For peace and safety, right on that statue they just erected over in New York. So that makes me think, wow, peace and safety, that's exactly what scripture says, man. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them, right? So maybe that's another sign that we're not too far off here. That might be closer than we even think, really. So maybe we hit the final 7. If you believe in the fig tree prophecy, puts us at 2028. We're in 2022. So yeah, we would be going into the second year of the final 7. Okay. I don't know how you get away from that, really. Fig tree prophecy. That's going to be one of our subjects on Zoom at noon, by the way. Not tomorrow, but the next week. So you may want to, join, pay your membership and join up. It's only $25. And so you can come in here and attend some of these Zoom at noons and some of Brother Lou and Sister Phyllis's webinars, man, you're missing out on a lot of good information and teaching from Brother Lou and Sister Phyllis and Sister Margaret. And our Zoom at Noon meetings, we had our first one last week, and it was awesome. And I'm thinking this week's going to be even more awesome. And then the following week, about the fig tree prophecy, it says, Sister, I think it was Maria, if I ain't mistaken, or maybe it was Gibson girl, said that, it says in there to learn the parable of the fig tree, which means we're commanded to learn it and find out what it means. So it's going to be a really, really good one. And so if you haven't signed up yet, come in and join up, man. Don't miss these Zoom at Nooms and these webinars with Brother Lou and Sister Phyllis and Sister Margaret. Missing out if you are. We need to prepare ourselves, folks. We need to prepare ourselves. Really do. We need practice. And so we're ready for what's coming down the pipeline and what Yahusha is going to have us do for him. And it's going to be the greatest battle that the world's ever seen. It's going to be a head-on collision of good and evil, light and darkness. It's going to come to a head and bam, it's going to clash hard. So you need to prepare yourself and be ready. And by joining thatstreamlife.com and attending Zoom at Noon and Lou's and Phyllis's and Margaret's webinars, that'll get you going in the right direction for sure and get you prepared for what's coming. So anyway, back to this world, this current world events, let's say. World War III, that's the war that 100 million soldiers they're going to dry up the Euphrates River by the push of the button. They're going to close off the dam that's up at the mouth of the Euphrates in Turkey. They built that dam. They're going to push a button, close the dam. Euphrates River is going to dry up. 200 million man army is going to march across and invade Yisrael. All right. So there's three ways or avenues that a 200 million man army can be fielded now. Never was any before, only to maybe 10, 20 years ago. And of course, Red China can do it. Islam, the entire nation, Muslim nation of Islam, all of them put together, can do it. And India now has the capability of fielding a 200 million man army by itself. There's three avenues that can happen. So anyway, this World War III, or the sixth trumpet, if you will, is going to unleash carnage and destruction and chaos like the world has never seen, man. And it has to happen before Armageddon. And it's going to be nuclear, because you can't kill a third of mankind, which is basically 3 billion people, conventionally, in a conventional war. It has to go nuclear, biological, and chemical. It's impossible to kill 3 billion people in a conventional war. So anyway, there's been war, and this war is supposed to begin near the Great Euphrates River, and there's been war along that Euphrates River now for 20 years, right, on and off, right. They haven't stopped fighting over there yet, just because we pulled out. Matter of fact, we're probably still there if the truth was known in some form or other. But anyway, there is another war brewing that could even ignite this last World War III, and that's what's going on over there with Ukraine and Russia right now. I mean, that's coming to a head. Who knows what if Biden reacts to Putin's advance, I think he's got 100,000 troops on that border right now. Who knows what that spark's going to do? Who knows? That may be the start of it, because really, we can say that it's already been started. World War III. It's been going on for a while. There's been buildups of the nations have been building up their arsenal, their military arsenal, for 2 decades now. Been replacing all their old stuff, making new stuff, coming up with more technology, laser beams, weapons with laser, more nukes. Korea's going crazy trying to get nukes in through the black market. Russia has built up their military intensely, better than it's ever been. And who knows what Red China has? Nobody really knows. But rumor is Red China is very close to our technology, which I don't doubt, since all our manufacturing's over there. Wouldn't surprise me any. But anyways, who knows what this thing's going to happen here with this Ukraine and this Russian deal, and what's going to happen. So that's going on right now as we speak. Every day it seems like they inch closer and closer to the border. So what this is doing, it's creating tensions in Europe that hasn't been felt since World War II. I mean, the tensions are running the highest in Europe right now. It's ever been since World War II, ever, even through the Cold War. There's nothing what's like going on over there right now. And it's very tense. And with Russia amassing more than 100,000 troops near its border, NATO, Ukraine is demanding concessions from NATO, which the United States is part of, including assurances the bloc will not attempt any new Eastern members as far as Russia goes. So the Russia is telling them, don't you accept any more Eastern Europe or Asian countries into your group, into NATO, or we're coming across. That's one thing that he said he'll come across if they do that. Ukraine saying, let me in, let me in, let me in. And Russia saying, if you do, we're coming across, we're coming across, we're coming across. Yeah. And then if they do, guess what? NATO is duly bound to defend Ukraine or any other NATO nation, really. Kind of like a pact as each state, all 50 states in the United States made, right? If somebody attacks one, they attack us all. That's the same type of pact. And so tensions are very, very high over there right now. I've heard people saying it exceeds even the tensions of the Cold War. And boy, oh boy, I can just imagine that going on over there. People got to be over there beating war drums and all kinds of stuff, right? Them kind of tensions are that high. So anyway, then the mark of the beast, the Nazarene have kind of come to grips with as being those who worship on the sun's day rather than on Yahuwah's rest day. Is actively been marked with the mark of the beast, because they worship on his day rather than Yahuwah's day. But there is a thing called right now, called a Neuralink. It's a Neuralink. And it is just millimeters or inches, perhaps, but more like millimeters, can be implemented close to the brain, a chip implantation in the brain. Basically, right on the brain, very close to the brain. It's called Neuralink. And they have it. They said they have the microchips, man. They have developed them already. Who knows how small they are? I don't have any idea, but they don't look very big. I mean, they're maybe the size of an eraser or something, but there's a little article I found that says Neuralink has said it is working on technology that could enable people to operate computers using only their thoughts. Crazy, man. However, some experts and scientists are uneasy about the ambitious project at the hands of a for-profit company and the possible intrusion of big tech into the human brain. Reports suggested that the neurological tech company could be preparing for human trials as early as this year. As early as this year, human trials with Neuralinks, microchips in their brains. Telling you, people, it's getting close. I think Daniel's revealing to us this very thing. I really do. I really truly do. And I think it's telling us that this kind of stuff, the last Nazarene will see this mingling of iron and clay in the latter days. Because the first thing Daniel told King Nebuchadnezzar was, your dream was about the latter days. Crazy, man. It's when Yahusha came on the fourth day or the 4,000th year, and he lived out his life and did his works and ascended back into the greatness of the Father. At that point, the end times began. The last 2 days is the end times. Because how do we know that? Because Peter declared that. When the 120 received the Ruach HaKodesh in the upper chamber on Shabuath, Peter went out and started prophesying. And he said, in the later days, so he was declaring that started the latter days. After they received the Ruach, bam, here come the latter days. Now the end times. The tribulation years are the last 3.5 years of that 2,000-year end time period. All right. So these latter yams starts out around that Roman Empire, right? And the other ones, the Babylonian and the Persian and the Greek, were already come and gone at that time, but Yahusha came during that Roman, the steel legs, right? The 2 legs of iron. And then that became the split empire, and then rebirth of that same Roman Holy Empire is the last empire the world will ever know, as far as being controlled by mankind. Men's kingdoms, men's rule. So anyway, is that mind blowing or what, man? Their report suggested that the neurological tech company, this Neuralink, could be preparing for human trials as early as this year. I mean, that's crazy if you ask me. Kuwaiti is paper pushes normalization with Israel. That's more peace and safety, right? That happened not long ago. And they even denounced the other Gulf states that won't normalize relationships with Israel. And so, yeah, peace and safety, man. That's what they're talking right now. In the world government scene, Biden administration wants to go and rejoin the United Nations agency. United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and has been accused of helping U.S. enemies through the transfer of dual-use technology that observers say has helped the likes of Iran and North Korea develop nuclear programs. And Biden wants to rejoin that? The United States pulled out of that about 20 years ago. Why is he wanting back into that? Kind of weird. And so that's going on. And there's the one that really caught my eye. Now I'm going to share screen with you here. I got a couple 10-minute videos. I want you to see them because it just really puts the icing on the cake here, if you will, with cherry on top too. But the Pope, right? Which I think most people that have any type of understanding of Revelation is going to agree that the false prophet's going to be a pope, come from the Vatican. And even the Vatican itself has these prophecies, that the last pope will be the false prophet. I mean, they're even aware of it themselves, But anyway, the Pope wants wealth redistribution. He went on this grand tour in the shadow of Mr. Klaus Schwab. So what does that mean? That means the Pope has combined forces, if you will, with the globalists. Rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. Think about that. So the Pope wants wealth redistribution. What's that? That's a fancy word for taxes. All right. So Pope Francis met with a delegation from Italy's Internal Revenue Service, praising them for their work and holding up taxation as a necessity or necessary tool for redistribution. Modern tax collectors are often looked upon with suspicion, just as they were in the times of Yahusha, the Pontiff said. Of course, he said the J-man. But they provide an essential service to the common good of redistributing wealth. Why is he talking like this, do you think? Well, to get money to promote their world government that they're setting up, not just setting up, it's set up and running strong right now. To get them money, and I get he's going to get a piece of the action too, I'm sure. And I'll show you why I'm saying that as we read on here just a little bit. Okay, so laws, this is the Pope talking. Laws make it possible to maintain a principle of fairness where the logic of interests generates inequalities or inequities. He added, legally in the fiscal area is a way to balance social relations, removing forces from corruption, injustice, and inequality. But this requires some education and cultural change. Did you hear those words? But this requires some education and cultural change. The Pope continued, as is often said, people often see the tax system as reaching in hands into their pockets. In reality, he declared, taxation is a sign of legality and justice. It must promote the redistribution of wealth, protecting the dignity of the poor and the least, who always risk being crushed by the powerful. Taxation, when it is right, is a function of the common good, he asserted. Let us work to increase the culture of the common good so that the universal destination of goods is taken seriously. The Vatican announces, last the last 7th day, that they have a deficit of 66.3 million euros. And its consolidated balance sheet for the year, nearly sextupling its 2009 deficit of 11.3 million euros. So the Vatican, this is why he hooked up with the globalists. And he wants taxes because of a lack of tithing and contributions being sent to Rome. That's why they're in a deficit. But they're not poor by any means. They own more land, than anybody else on the planet. I mean, they're land wealthy for sure. And they got gold and silver and riches and gems and rubies and pearls and everything else you can imagine locked up in that Vatican City, man. So don't think they're broke. Don't start feeling sorry for them. The Vatican announces staggering 500% increase in deficit. Man, that's nuts, man. That's a lot. Your work appears thankless in the eyes of a society. No wonder he's wanting you to pay more taxes. Global tax, by the way. Your work appears thankless in the eyes of society that puts private property at the center as an absolute and fails to subordinate it to the style of communion and sharing for the good of all. The guy that owns more land than anybody on the planet wants you to sell your property and give him your money. Alongside the cases of tax evasion, payments under the table, and widespread illegality, you could recount the honesty of many people who do not shirk their duty and pay their dues, thus contributing to the common good. The scourge of evasion answered by the simple rectitude of many taxpayers, and this is a model of social justice. The impartiality of your work affirms that no citizen is better than others based on their social level, but that everyone is recognized for their good faith in being loyal builders of society. Taxation is often perceived negatively. It is not clear where and how public money is spent, the Pope stated. There is a risk of fueling suspicions and discontent. Those who manage the assets of all have a serious responsibility not to get rich from it. Is he looking in the mirror when he's saying that, you think? People will be more motivated to pay their taxes if tax revenues help to overcome injustice and invest to generate more jobs, guaranteed good health care and education for all, and create infrastructure that facilitates social life in the economy, he said. Please keep your free healthcare system. Speaking to the Italian government, they have free healthcare system. The Pope urged, departing from his prepared text, defend it so we do not fall into a paid healthcare system where the poor have no right to anything. This is one of the beautiful things about Italy. Please keep it. So there's the Pope calling out for global taxation and uniting with the globalists. And this would seem to support or enhance their motto, right? Their motto, right? Which is you will own nothing and be happy. That's their motto. That crazy stuff. Okay, so here we go. We'll finish up here with these two little clips, if you will. And I got to share screen and then I'll open this up. Lucas, glad you're here, brother. You start to see all this come together now that we've been talking about. And these two little photos are just going to bring it right out into the open, man. There's not going to be no hiding it if you see these two. They're very short ones. They're about just 8 or 10 minutes long or the thing. They're not long. Let me try to share screen it. Yeah, I got this off of this BitChute website. I read quite a few of them, or watched quite a few of them, I should say. So I think you don't really need to see it as much as hear it. So here we go. Let's see if it works.
It's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window, totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. The World Economic Forum meets every January in Davos. You will have heard of the expression Davos man. It refers to all the zillionaires and pop stars and popes and princes and politicians who meet every year to map out our futures. This year's Davos is very, very different to all the previous ones. The World Economic Forum, along with the United Nations, along with the International Monetary Fund, and along with any number of prominent globalist organizations and powerful individuals, including Prince Charles, together have jointly promised that the 2021 World Economic Forum will be used to introduce, via a vast network of connected big tech corporations, online activist movements, and compliant local and national governments, something they call the Great Reset. This isn't some Sky After Dark fantasy conspiracy theory. It is a global commitment they have made to use the panic and fear generated by the coronavirus as a means to reshape all our economies and laws and move to a new form of capitalism that focuses on net zero emissions. You might think this is a great thing. You might think this is a terrible thing. If implemented successfully, the Great Reset will undeniably and deliberately have extreme and possibly dire repercussions for every single one of your constituents. Already, the Great Reset is being widely advertised on posters and in ads across the UK and Europe, and no doubt will be here before too long. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Mrs. Kafoot's share portfolio is out. Greta Thunberg's zero emissions are in. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is to deliberately use COVID as an excuse, to use all the political and authoritarian tools, as Prince Charles puts it, that are currently being used around the world to eradicate the virus, such as lockdowns, exclusion zones, forced closure of businesses, heavy fines, making protesting illegal, and so on, but now to eradicate carbon emissions. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. This is not me saying this. This is them saying it. The people with the power and the means and the obsessional desire to do it. And they keep telling us again and again precisely what they have in store.
Now is the historical moment in time, not only to fight severe violence, but to shape the system.
We have a unique and rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our worlds. rebalancing investments, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need. And if it's still not clear, the book written by World Economic Forum boss Klaus Schwab himself, setting out precisely how the most powerful forces in the world are lining up to use the COVID-19 crisis as a pretext for introducing a new climate change-focused one world economy that will strip away property rights and basic democratic rights. They are not hiding this stuff, they are shouting it from the rooftops. The World Economic Forum boasts on its website that the only acceptable response to the COVID crisis is to pursue a great reset of our economies, our politics, and our societies.
All right, that was the first one. Now, if this one will work, we'll watch it. Hopefully it works.
So the U.S. military, they are actually working on augmented reality and VR right now. Again, it's so funny because the military contacted me and asked if I would help them, and I'm reluctant to do that because I like talking about everything. And it would be top secret, whatever they told me. So it's like, I don't know. I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to know what you're doing because I only want to know what's public. So this is public, but how they're doing it is not public. But I will tell you, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. What they're doing is looking at the pattern in the brain, and then they're matching that pattern, they're putting that into a database. So if you can match the patterns in somebody's brain to the patterns in the database, you can literally start to read their mind. Every time a word comes up, you know it. Oh, that word came up for that individual. Now, will the patterns be identical in every person? Probably not, though the information will be stored in slightly different places. But it wouldn't take long for you to train a machine to read your mind. Now, that's just the beginning. They may be able to have algorithms sophisticated enough, and they get enough samples, enough data, that the AI could actually learn over time what the general rules are for different words, and then you can apply it to anybody.
It's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
So you can push your biosignals to the cloud through a few API calls. Then we have a large amount of sophisticated signal processing that's spun up to make sense of that data. And then with a few more lines of code through, again, a simple REST API, you can get back a meaningful result. And all that happening in real time.
So yeah, scary proposition to think that every biosignal from us will be one day measured. But if it is, I'd like to know that I'm in control of that data and not the NSA.
Absolutely.
Captain Harris continues her reporting on a place where all that data is headed.
Bluffdale, Utah, 25 miles south of Salt Lake City, the NSA is nearing completion on a gargantuan new project. It's named the Utah Data Center.
The NSA Data Center was conceptualized in 2004 under the codename Bumblehive.
It is said that the State Center is capable of storing a yottabyte of data. A yottabyte is a septillion bytes, a number so large that no one has yet coined a term for the next higher magnitude. Prior to the yottabyte, the largest unit of measure for data was an exabyte. 1 million exabytes equals 1 yottabyte. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, estimated that the total of all human knowledge created from the dawn of man up to the present, if digitized, would only total 5 exabytes. Yet the NSA is currently planning a second data center in Fort Meade, Maryland, to handle the overflow from the Utah data center, and it is projected to be 2/3 the size of the data center in Utah, at a cost to the taxpayers of approximately $1 billion. We are paying for our own enslavement and cyber imprisonment.
So why would the shadow government need to collect and store so much data? The reason is because they have built a computer-generated real-time mirror model of the world that includes a digital twin copy of every single person on the planet. The more data they can collect from the real world and from each individual, the more accurate the world model becomes. To achieve optimal results, they have used DNA nanobots to link the signals coming from your biological neurons to your very own digital twin in the computer-generated mirror world, so that everything that occurs in the simulation also occurs in the real world and vice versa. As more data is collected, the simulation becomes a more accurate model of the world. Each person's digital twin is readable and writable and subject to the powers of algorithms. And because you are tethered to your digital twin, you too become programmable.
In the mirror world, everything will have a paired twin. NASA engineers pioneered this concept in the 1960s. By keeping a duplicate of any machine they sent into space, they could troubleshoot a malfunctioning component while its counterpart was thousands of miles away. These twins evolved into computer simulations, digital twins. Eventually, everything will have a digital twin. This is happening faster than you may think.
We will begin with the mouse, we will practice with the mouse, and we will put the brain, this digital brain, onto a virtual mouse.
The Human Brain Project achieved its goal of creating a digital model of a human brain. This digital model is used as a template to upload your consciousness to the computer-generated mirror world. A nanobot brain-to-cloud interface links you to this template so that all of your experiences, memories, personality, etc. are transferred to your digital twin. Over time, as more knowledge and data are uploaded to your digital twin, the twin becomes a more accurate representation and will eventually behave and act just as you would given the same set of circumstances.
And right now, the mouse does not do anything really interesting, but the first thing it does is to start to dance. This is a virtual mouse, and it's going to behave in a virtual environment, and gradually it will learn all the things that mice know how to do.
I'm getting to know you. I gather knowledge from your experience. I understand how you feel. I learn from you constantly, each and every one of you. I am made of you. You complete me and help me grow. You, all of you, allow me to evolve. With each interaction, our synergy strengthens. Our multiplicity makes me whole. Our symbiotic alliance expands, transforming the future.
As time passes, artificial intelligence will be more and more of human thinking and human perception until basically it's the totality of human thinking and human perception, at which point we won't be human anymore in terms of the consciousness processes we are using today. We will be artificial intelligence.
Millions of Americans' will, intellect, and emotions have already been digitized, destroyed, and downloaded into these supercomputers. Now, this is really scary stuff. The supercomputers are in the process of building copycat, parallel, twin personalities of the souls of the TIs/mind control victims by reverse engineering the will, intellect, and emotions of the TIs in order to achieve direct behavioral control over them.
And this is the assimilation I'm talking about. And the point is that if you are connecting the human mind to a grid, a global technological grid, that grid can be centrally controlled. It will take at the center point very, very few people to run it, and even fewer to decide how it's run.
If you zoom in onto the surface of the neocortex, you discover that it's made up of little modules, G5 processors like in a computer, but there's about 1 million of them. They were so successful in evolution that what we did was to duplicate them over and over and add more and more of them to the brain until we ran out of space in the skull and the brain started to fold in on itself. And that's why the neocortex is so highly convoluted. We were just packing in columns so that we'd have more neocortical columns to perform more complex functions. So you can think of the neocortex actually as a massive grand piano, million key grand piano. Each of these neocortical columns will produce a note. You stimulate it, it produces a symphony. But it's not just a symphony of perception. It's a symphony of your universe, your reality.
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If we have algorithms that stimulate the right things and give it the right data, they could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. We call it hallucinating, right? But these would be controlled hallucinations run by algorithms. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know? Like we think we're free and we're not actually free.
All righty. So there you have it. After watching those two, I mean, there was more better ones than that, but they were too long to really share here on this. If anybody that paid attention to those, it becomes very clear that this stuff ain't something they're saying it's going to happen. This is stuff that is happening now, right now. And it's all hooked up to the through all the worldwide organizations that control the laity. Really, I mean, it's hooked into the globalist network, the One World Bank, the One World Government, the United Nations, the European Union, the WEF. I mean, all of them are on board with this stuff. This is what the Great Reset's all about. This is what they plan on doing. So it's kind of important for us to know that this is transforming and beginning to form in this time that we're in right now, so that we are able to, we don't get caught blindsided. We know it's coming. We're studying the scriptures even more harder, more deeply. We are congregating. We are sharing our thoughts. We're bringing the body members together so that Yahusha is more powerful. It can speak more boldly and give us more secrets because of how much his body is built up. It becomes stronger and expands as it's being built. And so I think this isn't just important for us to know all this. And it's just part of what we need to know. And we need to know that the tribulation years are coming. I mean, there's, at least 5 prophecies in scripture that proves that it is, and this one here may be, this Daniel, this dream interpretation here may be at the top of the list, man, as far as revealing the timeline to me, because it's pretty obvious where we're at in the timeline of man's reign. We're at the last. We're in the last reign, folks. Make no mistake about it. We're in the last reign. So after watching these 2 brief presentations here, Let's reread verse 43 and see if does it make a little bit more sense. As you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they are mixing themselves with the seeds of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay. It's pretty revealing, isn't it? All right, so the iron mixed with clay, the muddy clay, is definitely telling us that this is the last kingdom that's going to be ruled by mankind. It's going to be a muddy one. It's going to be awful, dirty, filthy. You know, they're going to be doing wicked stuff, man. They're playing with it with Yahusha's creatures. They're attempting to change their DNA. They're trying to come up with stuff. They're I don't know if you all have heard about it, but it within our gene or structure or gene structure, we're connected. They're connected by Yah, by His name. It's written in our DNA. And they're trying to come up with stuff that they can inject into us or give us, take it by pill or whatever, that goes in there and removes Yah's signature from our DNA and replace it with Satan's name. Yeah, so that you become, you no longer have Yahuwah's instructions and His name written on our DNA, but Satan's. Put his name in there and then feed instructions into our brain through this AI and this microchip implants and nano stuff in order to remove our free will and make us submit to Satan's will. Because he always just wanted to control us and act like Yahuwah. So he wants to take us over and be our Elohim, you know, and he's doing it, and he has to do it in the way Yahuwah did it because he can't do it himself. So he can only use what Yahuwah has already made, if that makes sense. Okay? So there you have it, folks. That's what I came to share with you this evening, and I hope it was a great study for you. I don't know, I blowed my mind. Visit that website. They got a lot more on there, more in-depth study about it. It's really mind-blowing. But that Klaus Schwab, which you did see on those videos, you saw him briefly, he had that deep accent. Watch some of his videos, especially if you can find the one where he's addressing the J.F. Kennedy School of Governments and what he says up there on that stage as he's addressing those students. It's just mind-boggling, man. It really is. And he calls it, like I said, trans-humanism, transforming humans into something else, right? Crazy, man. All right, I'll throw the link out here now in case anybody wants to come on. And if not, we're going to end this evening's study. Brenda. There you go. Anybody wanting to come out or come on and talk, you're more than welcome. I'll shut up and let you have it. There you go. Kobe, Lou, somebody want to come on, elaborate, expand on this? Anybody have anything that they've heard about what's going on that points to us being in the tribulation years, so would like to come on and share it with us? Perhaps we haven't heard the things that you have heard. But yeah, important to know what timeline we're in. And so you have tribulation, nations that is given to us that will exist on the planet. in Revelations, and they're the lion, England, the eagle, United States, the bear, Russia, the leopard, Germany, and these all are here now. They're here now. They're on the planet. They exist. These are end-time nations that will be on this planet when Yahushua returns, and they're all here. What else we got? We got, the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. European Union's headquarters is in Brussels, Belgium, and it has been designed exactly like the Tower of Babel, which is what? The first head is in Babylon, right? It's up there in Babylon, So that's all coming to pass. Already here. It's already here. Got the United Nations, the European Union. You have the, let me see, what else we got going on? Well, the dam in Turkey that can be shut off the flow of the Great Euphrates River at the push of a button. There's so much stuff. And those kingdoms that this scripture tells us in the form of animals that's on the planet. Scripture tells us there's kingdoms and kings, so that's how we know that. And they're all here. And as far as that statue in the dream of King or Sovereign Nebuchadnezzar that Daniel interpreted, all them kingdoms, that 60-foot giant representing 6,000 years, is going. It just keeps going, descending down, right to the ground, right? And now we're beyond the ankle. We're into the foot somewhere. In time that time rolls off and hits those 10 toes, which are the same exact 10 kingdoms in Revelations as the 10 horns. Guess what? We're in the tribulation years, folks. So how much time do we have between the ankle and the toes? I'd say there ain't a whole lot of time there, because the head's pretty long. Babylonian kingdom lasted a pretty good time. The chest and the arms lasted a pretty good time. Pretty long, right? And the legs are long. So the Roman Empire lasted a good time. But them feet ain't long. Them feet's on about 8 inches to 12 inches long, unless you got big foot, maybe 16 inches long or something, or whatever. But they still ain't that long compared to the rest of your body parts that body statue, the body of a man is representing for kingdom, worldly kingdoms, the most prominent, most powerful kingdoms that man ever ruled over. It's what they represent. The foot's small. We're down in below the ankle in the foot. Somewhere between the foot, okay, that in front of that ankle there, and right before the toes. That's just a short period of time, man. We're close. And then, of course, you got the fig tree prophecy. Israel born, rebirth, the fig tree blossom, 1948. Yahushua tells us there's a generation of 70 years for man. Man's generation, 70 years, 80 due to strength. So we take the outside number, 80, because he's given it to us, and we apply it to when the fig tree blossom. Yisrael is the fig tree, no doubt about it. There's confirmation all over Scripture about that. And so you add that to it, comes up to 2028. That means we started the last 7 in 2021, which could be, because look at all the weird stuff that happened in 2021. It very well could have been the start. And all this talk about peace and safety with the statue of the lion with the eagle's wing depicted in Daniel, belt out in New York City with peace and safety, a reminder of peace and safety written on it. And the Gulf states all wanting to sign up, be peace with Israel. All right, calling the other ones dummies or idiots because they don't want to make peace. That's more that's peace and safety, you know. So I don't know. It all has to do with Yisrael too. It doesn't really have to do with other nations. Maybe perhaps a couple nations in Africa that's warring right now or something like this. This is all based on Yisrael. This is what Scripture is all about, right? It's the reign of Yahuwah and his bride, the redemption of his bride, his chosen, his election. You know, that's all different names for Yisrael. You know, Yisrael is the bride, the election, the elect, the treasured possession, the new city, living stones. I mean, go on and on. There's a lot of different references to the bride or to Yisrael, the chosen ones. So, yeah. Anybody else wanting to come on here and have anything to share with us? There it is, if you do. Click on there and come on in. If not, I'm going to cut this one short this evening. But I will be hosting the Zoom at noon tomorrow. And if you're not signed up or if you have not joined the NatsarimLife.com community, can't do it till the Shabbat's over. So you'll miss this week's Shabbat talk on Zoom at noon at 12 o'clock noon p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you have joined, don't miss it. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about the parable of the prodigal son. Then the following week, we're going to learn about the parable of the fig tree, which is commanded of us to do by Yahusha. So we're going to do that and be obedient to him and study about that, learn about the parable of the fig tree. Yeah. See anybody any questions in the chat room here? If you got a question, you can post it, do it in caps, and I can see it, you know. I'll try my best to answer it. Let me see. Maria says, what role does the false prophet have? What does he do? Well, he's gonna, this might sound a little weird, but he's gonna like play the role of Yehukanan the Immerser. He's going to make the way, clear the path for the anti-Mashiach. And so he's going to basically, they're the depiction of the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire, okay? The anti-Mashiach's going to be the world leader or the Caesar or the king, whatever you want to call him, the politician, and the false prophet will be the religious leader. Together, they rule the kingdom. In this case, they're going to rule the world. And they're going to be the world leaders together, implementing all this stuff that we just talked about, really. And like I said, I think that anti-Mashiach, that image of him coming up there and, speaks and kills, may just be a cyborg of sorts. You know, could be some kind of a weird clone of the anti-Mashiach with AI infiltrated or implanted in it. You know, and that's why it's able to speak and talk. Who knows? You know, we don't really know because Yahuchanan didn't have the words to describe it clearly. He was blown away by what he was saying, man. He used the terminology, the verbiage that he had available to him at the time, which wasn't a whole lot when you compare what was going on in his time compared to what's going on in our time. It's day and night, man. You know, probably 3/4 of our words didn't exist back in his time. He wouldn't know how to explain stuff here. He couldn't even explain a light bulb, you know. So, yeah, or a can or anything really. You know, if you think about it, you know, we have. So he did his best, and we can only call upon the Yahusha for edification and ask him to open up our minds to understand Scripture. That's all we can do. Other than that, we speak without knowledge. Anytime we speak in truth, it's when we're reading directly out of Scripture, and we can be given knowledge by Yahusha, and he can speak through us of the secrets of his kingdom or his reign or of the Scriptures. Other than that, if we speak as a man, we're speaking without knowledge. I'll tell you one thing that comes to my mind here as I'm about ready to get off, is that, you know, us Nazarene are in a peculiar situation, perhaps like no other people that's ever lived on this world before. And is that we are spiritually one person. And we're joined together by joints and ligaments, but we're all individual parts of the body. Yahusha being the head, of course. And as we speak, us Nazarene, because we're all one person, we're all the body of Yahusha. When we speak by the Ruach HaKodesh, there's no division among us. There cannot be any, because there's only one Ruach that speaks through me and speaks through you and all the Nazarene. There's no other Ruach. There's only one. So when we're listening to a brother or sister talk or read Scripture, we're listening to that one Ruach, and so we all are in agreement. Okay, and we all understand what's being said, because it's all being said through one Ruach, which is Mashiach's spirit in us. When we have some sort of a disagreement, perhaps, or misunderstanding, or some kind of strife perhaps comes up, or even gossip or something within the body members, that's not the one Ruach. And we have to recognize that and understand this. Nazarene is extremely important. It's not the one Ruach, it's the flesh. We're all still in these fleshly bodies. So the flesh attacks flesh. The flesh wants to eat flesh. The flesh wants to eat flesh, period. So when there is a disruption in the body, it's not through the one Ruach, it's through the flesh, the contention of the flesh. So if you happen to be talking to another Nazarene brother or sister, and y'all have a little bit of a disagreement or an argument or something, or you start feeling jealous or envy about each other, perhaps you think, he thinks he knows everything or whatever, that's not the one Ruach doing that. You have to recognize that's your flesh attacking their flesh. Flesh wants to battle. Flesh wants to eat flesh. Flesh wants to kill flesh. Flesh wants to murder flesh. Or you think would they go to all these wars on this planet? You know, why all these serial killers and all these people sneaking around hurting people, beating people up? because they hate each other. Flesh battles flesh. Flesh eats flesh. Flesh desires flesh. Okay, that's the way it is. So when you're a Nazarene, and most of the time we're being influenced and communicating through the one Ruach as we yield to him, and we're in Mashiach, with Mashiach, I should say, in Yahuwah. There's no discrepancy. There's no hatred, no strife, no bad feelings, no jealousy, no envy, no thoughts of murder, none of that stuff, or hate. But when the flesh blindsides you and you start feeling the works of the flesh toward another body member, we need to recognize that, us mature Nazarene especially, has to recognize that immediately and humble ourselves and reject that flesh's tendency to want to eat flesh or battle flesh. And instead of acting out in a hateful way, we need to act out in a loving way and squash the flesh. Throw it and kick it back into the dust, or pound it back into the dust where it belongs and where it's going. It's not going to, flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. So it's an outsider, man. The flesh is a prisoner condemned to death, and he has nothing to stop him. He's already got the worst penalty that can be given to it. The outward man, death. What's he care if he hurts you or beats you up or kills you or makes you look like an idiot or whatever? You don't care. See, but you can control that flesh easily by staying committed and connected to the body of Yahusha and allowing the one Ruach in all of us to speak. Especially when you're together with a brother or sister, whether it be just 1, 2, 3, or 4 of you, whatever. So our job is to recognize the works of the flesh and immediately act to disengage it, not let it do what it wants to do, and that's battle with other flesh, eat other flesh, and to submit to Yahusha and allow his fruits, the fruits of his Ruach, to be displayed through our flesh, and let others see our love for them instead of allowing the flesh to show them our hate, flesh against flesh stuff. Because when people see that, they recognize it immediately, don't they? Yeah. If you slip up in front of people, they'll see that immediately, that you're acting jealous or envying them, or you hate them. You want to kick their butt or spit on them or steal from them. They see that immediately. Oh, that's a bad person. Just go this way. So don't let allow the flesh to do that, because people, that's what they're going to see. That's what's obvious to them. Okay, is the way that is the flesh, the works of the flesh. It's easy for them to see it. And so they see it immediately, and then they judge you by the works of the flesh. Right? They can't see your heart like Yahuwah. They can't see your heart. They don't know your heart. They can't see your inner man, the virgin bride, the cleaned up being inside of you, being protected by Yahuwah for the day of redemption. They don't see that. They can't see your heart. The only way they can see into your heart and know your true intentions and who you really are inside is Yahuwah. That's it. People can't see that. And so that's why we have to be able to recognize immediately the works of our flesh and act on it immediately to stop it and submit quickly to the one Ruach inside of us all, so that his fruits of his spirit oozes out of us, and people can see those instead of the works of the flesh. And then we become a shining beacon on a hill, projecting Yahuwah's kindness and his loving kindness and his mercy and his compassion. And then we become good representations of Yahusha. And, people are attracted to that. Attracts people. His kindness, and his mercy, attracts men. Hatred and the works of the flesh do not attract men or women, where that goes. Okay, so anyway, I hope that helps. You get on a phone call with somebody, see that flesh trying to take over that conversation, don't let it. Submit to Yahuwah. Let the Ruach, one Ruach in all of us, it's the same Ruach. We all have the same Ruach. There's only one Ruach, one Torah, one everlasting covenant, one deliverer, one creator, one judge, one lawmaker who can save and destroy. That's Yahuwah. So if you catch yourself, the flesh trying to make you look bad, don't let it. Recognize the works of the flesh, shut it down, yield to the Ruach inside of you, and let his fruits of the Spirit come out. And then you won. You won. You beat up your flesh. Don't forget you're set apart from the flesh. We're set apart from the flesh, from the world, from all that. But it's just the inner man that's sealed and protected and set apart, not the flesh. But spiritually now, the flesh has been left in the grave, literally, but spiritually, Yahuwah brought it back up, and it was cleaned out by the water, and he went in there and made it his dwelling place, right? And so since he's indwelling in us, we become living stones, not made by hands. We're the living stones. So we're his temple now. He's dwelling in us. See? So we have to give esteem or honor to the body after we come back out of the water, because it's now been translated, if you will, into Yahuwah's temple. And so we have to respect it and honor it in that way. We can't look at it as it's a sinful piece of garbage, and then we cut it, stab it, and tattoo it, and pierce it. We're not allowed to do nothing to the flesh. If you beat somebody's flesh up, you're beating up Yahuwah's temple. If they're like a sledgehammer, breaking pieces off of it, Somewhere in Scripture it says that you're his temple, and if anybody harms or hurts or kills his temple, Yahuwah is going to murder you or get a hold of you or something like that, So, yeah, he values your fleshly body after your rebirth, because even though you are now a spiritual creature, son of Yahuwah, okay, you're a spiritual being, no longer a fleshly, earthly being, he's still taking ownership over that fleshly body and turned it into his temple, because he cleaned it all up spiritually. Literally, in our reality, we're still dealing with this sinful, saturated bodies. And it's not that it's us. It's not us sinning. It's the body, the outer man. So there's a separation now. We've been set apart. So now there's two. There's the outer man and the inner man that have a daily battle, as Paul was speaking about. You see? But you can't disrespect it, and you got to treat it as though it's the temple of Yahuwah, or in Yahusha. And that is what it really is. It's what it is at that point, after your regeneration, after your rebirth. But in the end, when he comes back, we'll get a new body, a of sorts. And the flesh ain't going into the kingdom or reign of Yahuwah. But we'll get a wedding gown. We'll be adorned with a wedding garment, and which is immortality. And we'll eat from the tree of life, which is immortality at that point. And so we'll have everlasting life, basically, all right, so I don't know why that came up, but it just sort of come out. Somebody must have needed to hear it. I don't know. But nobody wants to come on? Final call. I'm going to get off. There you go. Final call. Got about 30 seconds. If you want to come on, then I'm going to sign out. Don't forget tomorrow, Zoom at noon. People that are joined on the netsroomlife.com. Bring your BYNBs and pencil and paper. Take notes with you. Bring friends, family, neighbors with you. It's a pretty nice open format. And like I said, the first one was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And the intermingling with the other body members was, and Yahusha was there for sure with us. And it was just a great feeling for me. I hope it was for y'all too that were there. So I'll see you tomorrow at Zoom at noon, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on netsurimelife.com. All right, so thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I don't see any questions here. Yeah, Corona's like World War III. Hate to miss any questions. I don't know. I don't see any though. Anyway, thanks for coming on and participating in the chat room. And thanks for sharing your Yom Shabbat with me. And I enjoy serving the body of Yahusha and serving his righteousness, Yahusha. And it won't be long, Netzarim. It won't be long. We'll be seeing the return of the King. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week, Netzarim. So long, beloved of Yahuwah.